There we go. Hi, everyone. Hi. It's Calista. And this is Stephanie. Oh, I can't get this unmuted. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, there we go. Sorry, we were having some technical difficulties here. All right, we're just trying to mute one of our mics here. Okay. Yeah. So, how is everyone doing? Thank you so much for joining us today. Yep, we're going to be talking about, for probably one of the very few times, not really about thread today. Yes, but you also will need to use thread with these items, which is why they're actually really interesting to talk about, because we also mentioned that like thread is sometimes overlooked, and I think another factor that's a little bit overlooked sometimes, because it's not the most glamorous thing to shop for, is what we call our WonderFil creative medium. So this is a brand new line of products that just launched last year. So it hasn't been out in the market for very long, and we really only started selling it during maybe like Quilt Festival last year. So it's very new still. Yeah, even maybe not Quilt Festival, because if you guys are familiar or not too familiar, before Quilt Festival, which is the retail portion of the International Quilt Show in Houston, there's something called International Quilt Market, and at that point we have like presentations in schoolhouses about new products, and this is actually when the creative mediums was first brought up. So stores were able to try them and test them out during market and see the product, and any leftover, maybe a few lucky people got to bring that home with them. Exactly. So let's showcase the different creative mediums that we have today. So we're going to unbox all of these for you today. So the creative mediums lineup actually consists of 7 different products. So it kind of started. It might be written backwards for you guys. So it started with the Rinse Away design sheet that came out earlier last year. You guys might be familiar with this. And we've expanded the line now, so it includes 7 products that you see here. Stephanie's got the last 2. And so these are the different creative mediums that we offer. So in the lineup, there's a few different things. One of them is called Stretch Guard, and we're going to get into each one of these in a little bit here. There's Stretch Guard. This one is called Total Support. We also have Lace Made here and Stitch Enhancer. We have Rinse Away design sheet, like what Calista said, instant applique, and also the applique transfer sheet. So the reason actually why we call them creative mediums is because they're a collection that we've kind of curated to do a variety of different things. They don't necessarily mean like stabilizer. They don't necessarily have like an umbrella meaning, but they actually are all used pretty differently to help you achieve certain results that improve basically your overall sewing experience, because sometimes you need help with stabilizing something or cutting out a pattern or transferring designs, things like that. And so we'll go through how each of these mediums might be able to help you out in your everyday sewing. Yep. So the first one that we want to start with, I'm really excited about here, is called Instant Applique. So it comes in a box like this. And to just show you how the packaging looks, there's going to be a description of the product on the side, as well a little quick idea about it. But the most important thing is there's actually a QR code on all of the packaging, and it takes you to a YouTube video that actually shows you how to use the product and different ways on how you can use the product as well. And we've actually developed like several YouTube videos using all these different products already. So if you're curious and you want to learn more besides what's in our talk today, you can definitely check out our YouTube channel and see, because we've already released some videos using this product. And we have some friends in the audience. So hi, everyone that's saying hello to us. It's nice to see you guys. Or for you, we don't see you, but it's nice to know that you guys are here. So I'll open up this Instant Applique product first. And so you can see here, it is going to come in a roll. Here, you can kind of open it right here. Yeah. So right here, there's kind of this side is not sticky. It's pretty slick. And if you peel this open, it's actually a little bit sticky on the other side. So the thing that makes this product unique is it's a double-sided, like sticky adhesive web, essentially. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So I think like the first thing that's important to talk about too is like why this was even created in the first place. Yeah. And the reason why we've called it instant applique is because when it comes to techniques like applique, there's actually a decent amount of steps that are involved. Yes. Sometimes they can be a little bit tedious. And this is just another tool to hopefully alleviate some of those steps to make the process smoother and the result maybe like a little bit cleaner. So a lot of times you might be using it for like raw edge applique or even turned applique. You can use this for both, and even for hand and machine work too. And so commonly what you might see on the market are people using maybe like a permanent type of fusible to cut out the shape, to do the tracing and cut out the shape, or they might transfer it using freezer paper, and eventually that might come out too, and it only like really sticks to one side. So there's like not very many solutions for a non-permanent placement without the use of like pins and stuff. So that's kind of why it's done with kind of sticky material. And the best part is too, it actually washes away. So this is a water soluble product. It doesn't stay in your applique, which is why many people have been drawn to it, because it keeps their applique really flexible, especially after it's washed out. It becomes really nice and soft, especially if you have either like a large quilt or lots of layering in the applique. Having something soft or something that'll wash out will make the final feeling of the project really nice. So now that you know a little bit about what it is, let's show you. So I just kind of like opened the roll here, and so one side is kind of like the back of a sticker where it's like a wax paper that's like easy to peel off, because this creative medium is a double-sided sticky product. So that's why we kind of roll it onto itself this way, because both sides, once you peel this off, so let me show you here. So once you peel this off, both sides of this creative medium are actually sticky. So like Stephanie was saying, it makes it a fantastic product for doing things like applique, because you can stick this onto the back of your fabric and then stick that applique shape onto your like backing fabric, and it immediately like puts the two together and gives it like a temporary hold. So it's easy for you to do either your needle turn, or if you're just doing like a raw edge applique, either or. It's fantastic. And your creative medium does not have to live between the layers of your fabric forever, because you can wash it out and it washes away super easily just in like a little bit of water. And so how may this work in, let's say, like a project where you need to cut like very specific shapes out? So that's when we bring into the picture the applique transfer sheet. So this is what the front of it looks like. The back of it is gridded just in case you need to draw your shape or measure anything out. But essentially it feels similar to the backing of this tube, except for you can print on it and put it through your printer. Yeah, this is sized for like a regular printer. So we'll show you a sample of like what we've already printed. So for example, like we've planned out our applique on the computer. We've drawn out some simple shapes and printed it on to the back of one of this. So this is, you see the plain applique transfer sheet before we've printed on top of it. Now we've printed on top of the applique transfer sheet. So what you want to do at this point is you want to grab your roll of instant applique, and we're just going to open this up so it reveals the sticky side, for example. And then you want to place your applique transfer sheet upside down on top of it. So this is called instant applique. Kind of like this. So you see here now you have your shapes on top of your instant applique, and it's very easy to cut out. So you can cut out these shapes first, or you could just cut out this whole piece of paper and then stick it to the fabric that you're going to be wanting to do the applique with. And so you can get a really precise transfer of like how your design looks. Yes, you can use that in a scan and cut, and we'll show you a little bit of a diagram. This is step 1, and then Stephanie will show you the next few steps here. Yeah, so we kind of made a little poster to show you. If you guys came to Houston, you might have seen this too. So we've just cut one quadrant out of the paper that we've printed on, and we've stuck it onto the instant applique. So after that, we just loosely cut out the shape like so. And next, because actually, I'm not sure if it's backwards for you, but this says turned applique. So you can cut out the exact shape of that outline. And when you cut out your fabric, you leave that 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch, whatever you want or feel comfortable with. And you peel off this top layer like a sticker. And so that reveals the underside that's also sticky. And then at that point, you can actually adhere the fabric, just folding it over and sticking it onto this back part, just so you can have it already turned for that turned applique look. It'll look really clean, and you can stick it straight onto your project and basically stitch away. If you're someone that likes to do raw edge applique, for example, you can cut out this exact shape, or you can leave it like this so it's a little bit easier. So right here we have an example, and you just cut out the exact shape without leaving that 1/4 inch around the edge, and you're left with something really clean, and you just stick it onto your project and let it be. The next step would be sewing it down. Yeah, so then it's up to you at that point if you want to like stitch it down by the machine or if you want to stitch it down by hand. Either way, it's not an issue. And then afterwards, once you wash your project for the first time, that layer of creative medium, that instant applique, will dissolve from between the layers of your fabric. So it makes your project a lot softer as well. So you don't always have to have a layer of like, stabilizer that would be between the two parts of the two pieces of your fabric, and it won't stay in there forever. So there's a lot of ways to use instant applique. This is just one way. And the other way we want to tell you is, for example, if you have something that looks like this, that's like a digitized design that has applique around the edge of the design, and usually you would, put your fabric down on your machine, and then it would stitch out where like the die lines are essentially, and then you have to cut out all that extra fabric that kind of like lives on the hoop. And so then you can try to get as clean of an applique as you can. Instead of doing that, what you can do is, after you have your bought digitized design, you do need like some embroidery software, but you can print out the die lines on your applique transfer sheet. So then when you go to cut your applique, you can cut it out precisely without doing it on your machine first and then having to snip around it, so you can get a much cleaner edge and have a much like clean and crisp design. Yeah, so for example here, when you have to cut it out afterwards, sometimes you'll be left with fuzzies, but when you cut it out beforehand, you get these really clean lines along the edge because you don't have to go in and cut it out afterwards. Yeah, so if you're someone that does like a lot of like applique embroidery, it's a fantastic project to really have like nice crispy embroidery and edges and things like that. And if you're someone that loves to do applique, this makes doing applique super easy as well. Yeah, and you know, we're still playing around with all these different uses of instant applique. I know it's called instant applique, but we're learning a lot too. So if any of you guys are coming to like QuiltCon or Daytona, AQS Daytona, we're actually going to have some make and takes in our booth where you can actually try the product. But one of the projects that we're going to be doing is English paper piecing with instant applique. So this is us just playing around at the office, but essentially we were sent some die cut machines from AccuCut, and we're like, why don't we try using instant applique with this? So all we've done is cut out a shape like this, so the fabric of our English paper piecing, and we put the applique transfer sheet on one side, and then the other side is just the regular backing. So both sides are sealed off right now. And what you can do, maybe we can switch to the other camera really quickly. Hold on. Let me just clear our table space so it's a little bit more organized for you. All right, and let me just take me off the stage. All right, so hopefully you guys can see this a little bit clearly. So first, you just put this upside down on the wrong side of the fabric. You peel off one of the back sides. You stick it down like so. So this is instead of using something like glue, right? Then you peel it up like this, and you're left with the sticky side right there. And you can just fold it over like that. And that takes away the whole gluing part when it comes to English paper piecing. And if you want, like I find it still okay to fold it over. I can feel the edge, even though this is quite like soft and flexible. I can still feel the edge. What you can also do is while this paper is still on there, you can fold over your fabric like this and finger press if you feel like that'll make it a little bit easier. But this is a really fun project that you can also do, and then you don't need to keep the paper in, which is really nice. And then once it's all done, you also don't have to take all the paper out. You can actually just run it under some warm water and it'll dissolve, and you're left with a really soft project. So that's just another idea that we came. Thank you. Sorry. Sorry, we just kept going. We switched back to the other camera and it was on mute. Sorry. Are you guys able to hear us now? Hopefully the sound is back. Please let us know if you can hear us. Okay. Can someone leave a comment to let us know if you can hear the audio? Okay, great. Sound is back. Thank you. Awesome. So sorry about that. We were just showing this diamond again and showing how easy it was to put together. This was the back. And Calista was talking about how she used it again for something different. Yeah, I was actually using the instant applique for a denim jacket I was doing visible mending on. And because I was doing it on a collar piece that I was trying to add some decorative stitches on, and I was putting like a patch of fabric, you know, for a decorative element, it was really hard to like like fold in the edges and like pin it all down with like pins and clips and stuff because of the shape especially. So I actually used a piece of instant applique and I was able to like turn it under and then put the fabric like right on the collar, and it made it like really easy to like attach and like put something there temporarily, so I could like stitch it down like a lot more simply. So because this is like essentially double-sided tape that will like disappear and that you can like stitch through, like you can just imagine all the different possibilities that you can do with the instant applique and the applique transfer sheets. Yeah, and we're still learning some different ideas as well as we kind of like experiment around and think about like, oh, what would be better than using like glue, or what would be better than using like pins in certain areas. And that's where instant applique has really become handy, because there aren't a lot of like non-permanent solutions that still kind of have some adhesive or a fusible element to it to keep things in place. Exactly. So that was the instant applique and applique transfer sheet. I'm just gonna actually also pull up some pictures so you guys can see a little bit more close, because you know, if you guys have ever come to a thread talk, we do like showing things on PowerPoint as well to give you kind of a clearer image. So this is a close-up of the applique transfer sheet, the back side, and this is the side that you'd actually be printing on. We also just like zoomed in a little bit to the top left corner of it to show you that there's some instructions on if you wanted to do applique, how you would go about doing that and what the steps are. And like Calista said, there are QR codes on every single product. So if you needed to look up how to use it, or different ideas, you can definitely do that too. And so in this circumstance, we did like a little duck. And so that's us cutting out our duck shape. And we haven't peeled off the sticker yet, but just by turning it around, you can see that the lines are super clear and clean. You just have to do your stitching around it. In this case, it's just raw edge applique. But yeah, then the ducky is all set and ready to go. So that's with the instant applique. Yeah. I think the next one that we want to talk about is called Stitch Enhancer. And so the reason why we want to make sure we show you guys some of these images up close as well, and not just on like camera, is because especially for Stitch Enhancer, if you guys can take a little bit of a closer look at that roll, you can almost see that there's like a little bit of a loft or some like fluff, like a little bit of loft, almost like a super light batting. It can appear that way on one side of it. So Calista's just going to do a bit of an unboxing here. So again, all the different like ideas, like some simple ideas that you can like use this product on are written on the side with a description, and again, the QR code that you can easily scan so you can see how this product works. So if you ever like even just see it in the store or at the show or anything, like you can, because it's on the outside of the box, you can always scan it first to see how this product works. And it's always like a great just like reminder as well, if you ever forget like what you bought this for, like how you use this product. So here's the roll. It's quite a large roll that it comes on, and then I'll take it out of the bag here. So you can see here that there's two sides to it. This is the front side, and then this side on the back, there's going to be, I know you can't see it, but there's a texture to the back of it, because this is actually an iron-on product. This is a heat fusible product. Yes, and I forgot to mention a little bit more before we dive into like kind of the next few, is just talking about what stabilizers are, because there's just so many out there, you know, that exist. What do they mean? Is it one specific thing? But actually it's kind of like an umbrella term. And the goal of a stabilizer really is to kind of enhance like the quality or like the finish of your project, whether that's like giving some more structure to the fabric, or, you know, even preventing puckering, or even just like achieving a certain type of design, like freestanding lace, for example, right? But even in the world of stabilizers, there's a lot of stuff going on. So you have like fusible stabilizer, adhesive back stabilizers, wash away stabilizers, tear away stabilizers, cut away stabilizers. Some are permanent, some are temporary. So there's a lot of different ones out there. And so even with like Stitch Enhancer or some of the other ones that we're going to talk about too, we'll go into a little bit about like why they are the way that they are and what type they are. So we'll be quite specific about like whether they're temporary and how to like fuse them or attach them or, you know.
So going back to like instant applique after Stephanie's described now, because usually with this type of product, you just want like something to temporarily hold your product or your project in place in a certain way to help you do that technique better. So that's why it's an adhesive back. So there's no heat required. So it's a very easy product to use like on the go, wherever. And it also is a temporary product, which is why it washes out. It's a wash away product and it does not like live in your project forever as long as you do that step to wash it out. Now coming to Stitch Enhancer, this is an iron fusible product,
and it permanently fuses.
And this permanently fuses. And this is because this product is to help enhance how your stitches look, which is why it's called Stitch Enhancer. And you want that enhancement to be forever, which is why it is a permanent product.
Yes. And again, I'm just going to pull up the slides really quick so you can have just like a visual on what we mean. So this is what like stitching or sewing or quilting may look like without Stitch Enhancer. This is just a regular stabilizer. We definitely want you to pay attention a little bit to like how the thread lays on the fabric. And in this case, I think it still looks really nice. But when I go over to the next slide, you see how those stitches almost sink into the fabric. Or like a really thin layer of foam to achieve a look like this. But the nice thing about Stitch Enhancer is because it fuses to your fabric, you're not going to have any shifting
or movement.
And then
and that also means that you don't have to use any like spray adhesives to like actually put your more like foamy or cushy layer together to achieve this look.
Yeah, so I'll just flip back to the other slide and back to this one so you guys can see the difference. That's with a regular stabilizer, and this is with Stitch Enhancer. So it just like sinks in really nicely, like as if you've done like quilting on batting or something like that. But like I said, because we're like always exploring and playing around with where to use Stitch Enhancer, one other way that we found it's really helped is if you have certain designs that have like a lot of corners or sharp points, for example. So we chose this dinosaur with a bunch of teeth, and you can see that there's quite a bit of pulling, especially on the head and the tail there. And we've put just like a regular stabilizer on the back here. So this is what this looks like. And we were like, why don't we try putting Stitch Enhancer on the back? And you can see right away, there's still a little bit, but it's greatly improved compared to the previous example. And actually, if you feel the stitches as well, this one feels softer because the stitches almost lay in the fabric a little bit more too. So if you're doing embroidery and you notice the design has like risk of like a lot of puckers, like there's lots of points, or there's just a lot of like turns or like a lot of dense embroidery, for example, this will help a lot with puckering and pulling. And one last example too, that like I really love hand embroidery. So sometimes if you're embroidering on something like quilting cotton, for example, it's way too thin. Well, I find it really thin and sometimes a little bit hard to work with. And it's almost easier putting something on the back to either help with how see-through it is or how easily it might like scrunch up on you if you're doing certain types of stitches. So another way you can use it is also putting it on the back of your hand embroidery, especially if you're embroidering on something that's like quite thin or might be like puckery. Just like stabilizing it a little bit and stitching through it is just as easy. So that's also another awesome way to use Stitch Enhancer.
All right, so that was the next product in our lineup. And then next we have Total Support. So I believe it's, nope, that's this one here. Okay, so Total Support is going to come in this orange color box. So again, I'll just open it up. Same with all the other ones. It just, the box is like, you can actually keep the product inside because it's like a little carton that you can like just like fold back in. And so if you want to like use this as your storage for the product, it's easy to store them this way as well, because once you take it out and they're all just kind of like white tubes, it can get confusing, which is why we wanted to make a box that you could actually like keep as well. So it keeps it like organized in your sewing room amongst all the other products that are around. And so this one comes on a tube like this, and it's called Total Support. So Stephanie is going to show you a sample here.
Yes. So Total Support, like what Calista said, it's a fusible tearaway. And I will mention too that like if you want a more permanent hold, you can hold the iron on it a little bit more. It will give it a more permanent hold. If you're wanting it to tear away, you can just moderately iron it so that it sticks. It's holding everything together so you can get your embroidery in, or like your quilting, whatever.
So this can be a temporary to permanent hold product. And again, because it is a fusible product, one side is going to feel like that tearaway material, and the other side you're going to feel there's a texture there.
A little grainy.
It's a little grainy, and that's the side that will like stick onto the back of your project.
Yes. And the cool thing about Total Support is you guys may have seen products that are like kind of similar to this on the market. This is what maybe most people think when they think stabilizer, right? Yeah. But the cool thing about Total Support is that it has like a random array of fibers, which is what makes it. So when you tear it off, it actually tears off really cleanly. It doesn't have a bias. You don't actually have to pull it as hard because the fibers are all kind of going in random directions.
You know how when you use like other tearaway products, sometimes you might feel it like tears better if you rip it like vertically versus like horizontally. So depending on how it's sitting on your project, like some parts are super easy to like tear away, but some parts are like don't rip off like super cleanly, or like a little bit harder to like clean off, because like what Stephanie said with like the multi-directional fibers, this tears easily in every direction.
And so right here, we just have a little butterfly here that we've embroidered. There's the Total Support on the back. And the reason why we've put this together is just to do kind of a demo of how it tears off. So I'm just going to pull it off to show you how clean the lines are.
And look how easy it is for Stephanie to peel it.
I'm just trying to peel it off based off of what I see on our webcam here. So you can see it's a pretty clean peel right there, and it peels very easily. It doesn't favor a direction, and this is what you're left with on the back.
You can tear it like diagonally, vertically. You can tear it horizontally, and it all just tears in every direction just as easily.
Even in terms of the material that's left in the back, sometimes you're left with a bunch of scraps that you might have to like trim out or really pick out. But if you can just get an edge on that, you can actually peel the inside of these areas
like these
out. Really
tiny, intricate areas still stays together and easy to peel out.
Yeah, and you can see how that just like stays together. And now this area is all cleared out. So Total Support is really nice in that aspect, because once you get all of it out, your design gets really soft and really nice for, especially if you're putting on like garments or anything, or even if you just don't want it to look like there's like a stiff backing on your embroidery projects. Total Support's really nice because it just tears out so nicely. All right. Could it be used on knitted fabrics? So yes, it can be used on knitted fabrics, but we have also
a product that's even better.
Yeah.
This is a great segue actually for us to talk about this is the wrong direction. Stretch Guard.
Yes.
And so we also just got a comment following up on Total Support. So you don't need to worry about pulling out the threads. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the total support is so easy to like tear off. It doesn't require you to like really yank at your stitches, and like definitely helps preserve what you put this in the back for is to have like a good finished design, and so it won't like affect that at all. Yeah, so like we said, the next product we want to talk about is Stretch Guard. We got an awesome question that said, could it be used for knit fabrics? While you can use it for knit fabric, we actually have an even better product for knit fabrics, which is called Stretch Guard. So in its name, you can already tell it's good to be using it for fabrics that might have a little bit of stretch in it, and to deal with, because as we all know, projects that you involve stretchy fabrics are sometimes like a little bit more difficult to sew. So by having this type of creative medium, it really helps you, you know, take away some of those headaches when you deal with those knits and things like that.
Yeah. So how does Stretch Guard differentiate, or what is it? What are the specifics of Stretch Guard? So one really nice thing about Stretch Guard is it's actually 100% cotton. It's like a woven material. So it's extremely soft on your skin. It's very skin friendly. And it also prevents that puckering or stretching. So like what you might be using total support for example, holding all that fabric in place, Stretch Guard will do that for you. And also leave you like with a really nice finish at the end, and will still leave your project really soft to use. So I don't know if you want to hold it up and if they can see that, but it's almost like a fabric. I mean, essentially it is like a 100% cotton woven material. And so there's a lot of freedom of movement and flexibility.
And again, it's two-sided. So like the top side is going to feel soft and cottony, and the back side is going to have a bit more texture, and that's the side that's fusible. But it's great because like you can leave that, like we said, it's permanent and it's supposed to be left in. So even when you use it in your garments, like on the inside for like embroidery, for example, it's a really soft, creative medium, so it doesn't like irritate or like feel scratchy or anything like that.
Yeah, even in like the world of garments, this is very helpful too, especially if you're hemming anything with a little bit of stretch. Like for example, even if you're hemming pants and they're stretchy, if you just run it straight through your sewing machine, sometimes you'll notice that it like flops a little bit different. It's not quite as drapey as like the rest of the material on the pant. So you can put Stretch Guard on it just to keep everything nice and stable and the same. And that's kind of like what we're looking for, is consistency. And even if like, how would you use this in a quilt, for example? Well, t-shirt quilts, right? T-shirt quilts are super popular. So Calista's old t-shirt was kind of our sacrificial lamb here, but just to show you, this is like one of her old t-shirts. And the reason why we've pieced it this way is because another really interesting thing that you can do with Stretch Guard is when you have a stretchy material, it's actually really challenging to cut right angles, like to get the corners super nice and clean, because by the time you get to the end of it, it almost wants to stretch out and you get this like corner that looks like this.
And also like if you have cut like kind of like some types of like knits and like t-shirt material before, it always like curls in, so it makes it super hard to like line up the seams of things and like keep it like flat, so it's easy to have like nice crisp seams and like straight lines.
Yeah, so this was a super stretchy t-shirt before, and now it's become like a woven, like it won't stretch. So you can still sew it really nicely, but it's like still soft like a t-shirt. It's very nice. And then now in the world of embroidery, how does this come into play? So when you're embroidering on something that's like a little bit stretchy, what you can actually do is cut out the like basically the shape of your, or the size of your embroidery pattern. And this is kind of like a crazy fabric that we have here, but we purposely chose something like very, very stretchy and like a little bit hard to work with. So we cut out the exact size that we needed here. And what we do is we actually pair it with total support. And we leave the total support unironed. So what you can do is you can hoop all those layers together and just embroider your design on the patch that has the that has the stretch guard on it. So by the time you're done, your total support is only, it's not even held on by it being fused. It's just held on by the embroidery. So again, you just take that right out. And what you're left with is still a really soft design. You know, it's still not going to crinkle or anything, even right around the embroidery. And it won't look stiff or different than the fabric around it.
But now you've actually been able to do a very precise embroidery, and this part around it that we just only put the stretch guard around is only the part that doesn't stretch. But now it makes it possible to actually do, you know, decorative stitching or do like embellishments on fabrics that have this much movement in it, because otherwise it's almost like very difficult to get a good result stitching on this type of fabric.
Yes. And another example too is, oops, this one slipped off. Excuse me. So what we've done is we've actually done another embroidery example, but almost on this like satiny kind of fabric, which is pretty, I would say, notorious for being a little bit hard to work with. So we actually just did total support on this. So this is just total support, but you can see because of the type of fabric, you see those like little puckers. And like I said, the more corners something has, the more likely it's going to pucker. So what we did was we used total support in conjunction with stretch guard. So the stretch guard stabilized the fabric, and you can see what a big difference that is between this one and the one that doesn't have the stretch guard. Yeah, this one's like a lot softer too. And this one, I mean, it has a stabilizer in it that you'd have to take out eventually. Or you can leave it in too, I guess. But this one's much softer to the touch, really like fabric.
And this is just a closer up of that piece of t-shirt. And it would have stretched almost just as much as this. It was like a very stretchy t-shirt.
It was a very old t-shirt.
It was a very old t-shirt. And you can see here, even when I'm like pulling, it like does not like become misshapen. And it was very easy to cut like a perfect square from this t-shirt material.
Yes. All right. Let me just make sure. And oh, I had a little piece of wool.
Oh, right here.
There it is. Yes. Okay, so this is also very random. And I was just, again, playing around with what it would be like to kind of like collage a bunch of wool together because, you know, we save all our scraps no matter how small they are. So all I did was I butted up 2 scrap pieces of wool together, and I did a decorative stitch on it afterwards. But actually, it's just held together by stretch guard. So I just put these face down on my ironing board, put a piece of stretch guard on it, and I made sure just all of it was like butt up correctly. And then I just pressed the stretch guard on and it fused it. So even without this stitch in the middle, it was already fused together. Like if I pull the top, like it's not going to open up. So it's already fused together, but you can almost do like a crazy quilt, but with like piecing together some heavier fabrics like wool, or even if you have, like I mentioned earlier, you could use stitch enhancer for hand embroidery. But if you don't want that loft, because sometimes you don't always want the extra loft, you can also stabilize like your t-shirt that you're wanting to do like some embroidery on with stretch guard, just to help with like the whole puckering thing. Because once you have a bunch of stitches in one area, the fabric will naturally want to gather. So
yes, I think someone also asked if it could be used for an underlining. So you can use it to like line your clothes and stuff like that. But I mean, we really only use it in like the parts that need like the support in a decorative sense. Otherwise, you could just use like a regular lining fabric. Like you don't need to like fuse line your whole garment or anything. You could, because it's soft enough, but
so like in theory the answer is yes, you can definitely use it for your underlining. Do you need to? I guess that depends on like the type of garment or whatever.
I feel like there's probably like cheaper lining options if you're doing like a whole garment, but it's like really only for like the specific parts where you need to like prevent the stretch. But like, for example, for the t-shirt quilt, like for this one, we lined the whole back so it wouldn't move at all. And then for Stephanie's little wool sample, she only had to line the part where the seams were. So it really depends on like where you're trying to prevent like stretch becoming an issue in terms of like accomplishing the type of technique that you're trying to do.
Exactly.
And yeah, someone commented a crazy quilt with denim would be super fun. Yeah, that'd be a really fun one to do too.
That would be a really fun one to do. I'd be interested in seeing that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So our next one that we want to talk about is lace made. So lace made is really interesting because it is a wash away. It's basically like a wash away web kind of. It doesn't fuse to anything. And the reason why is because this is specifically more for things like
delicate things.
Delicate, like freestanding lace, or if you're wanting to add extra support on very like soft fabrics or delicate fabrics. So
I want to point out that if you've seen kind of like wash away stabilizers before, sometimes they're kind of thin. And our wash away creative medium here, lace made, is not as thin. It's actually, I would say, like a little bit heavier. And the reason is because actually when you have really fine like light stabilizers, sometimes you even have to put like
double or triple,
two or three layers to get like the type of support that you want. And so like instead of having to like double up, because that just like could
make more
like prone, you could have
opportunity for like shifts between layers, right?
So that's why we have like a heavier wash away. And so with lace made, it's fantastic for freestanding lace, or even if you're doing stuff, maybe like an embroidery on like organza and stuff, it provides that support that you need to do. Like, look at, this is really dense design on like quite fine fabric.
Yeah, and so we bought some organza to do the testing on lace made. So we just hooped it. We did the embroidery and we just haven't washed it out yet.
Yeah. But you can see how well it holds up and like how nice these designs look on like quite a fine fabric.
Even if you want to do it on something like this, like satiny type of material, like if you're making pajamas or something nice and you want some embroidery on it, you can see once again, there's no puckering. And in the back is the lace made that we just haven't washed out yet to show you what we did there.
So we have a video of the lace made being used on our YouTube channel as well. And I highly suggest watching that video because we actually showed a picture or like a video of like how easily and how quickly this actually dissolves in water.
Funny you should say that because I inserted a clip into the PowerPoint.
All right, Steph.
So it's a really short clip. So let me just like pull it up for you guys to see here. So hopefully, or maybe it won't.
Can you click the 3 dots? We're going to see if we can get this video to play.
You know what?
Maybe you have to click the PowerPoint and play.
This PowerPoint?
Oh, no, you uploaded it, right?
Oh, you know what? You might have to go to our YouTube because I realized I converted this to a PDF.
Okay.
I'm so sorry about that, guys. But really, it's like in a blink of an eye.
Or maybe we can get some help from Bethany and get a link in our chat here. But there's a great YouTube video on our channel and you can see how easily this dissolves in water. Oh yes, thank you, Bethany. The link is already up in the comments, but it's really easy for this to just like dissolve in water with like very little effort. So this is like washes out super clean and super easily as well.
And here are just some freestanding lace designs, you know, for the upcoming Valentine season. So this is what lace made is really great for, all this freestanding lace. And of course we had to do our little WonderFil thread guy as well. So these are all just freestanding lace projects that you can do and give it a try.
This one's with our metallic thread as well. You can see here.
Yeah, it's so nice. So even like adding it as like some applique onto a garment or a dress could look really, really pretty. So that's what lace made is.
And finally, so this is one that we've talked about previously, but if this is your first time hearing about it, don't miss out on this product as well. This is called the Rinse Away Design Sheet. So this is a adhesive product as well, and it is also a wash away product as well, which is why it's called rinse away. So it's a temporary thing. And it's for you to transfer your designs onto whatever surface that you want to be sewing or stitching or designing on very easily.
Yeah, I mean, I was very passionate about this project because like sometimes the worst thing is like having to transfer a design. You got to trace it out and it's not even going to be like 100% accurate, or it kind of rubs away as you're doing your stitching. So by using this, and Calista will pull out a sheet so you can see a little bit better. And I'll also just like kind of show you an example. What you can do is you can either print on the back side of this, or you can print on the front side of this, peel it off like a sticker, and then put it straight onto your project. So here, this is kind of like a hand embroidery example. And once you put it onto your fabric, you can just stitch away. So for example,
so this is how the product looks. It's actually very thin, so you can see kind of like the shadow of my hand through it. So even with like very little light, it's easy to trace something on top of it. Like, let me find something to trace. Like, even if I put this over the instant applique box, like look how easy it is to see through this rinse away design.
And we have a lot of
so this is
studio light,
right? Like there's no light box under here, but you can see even placing it on top of something, it's really easy to trace a design. And where this is good is putting it on like textiles that are hard to trace through. So for example, like denim again, or like cork or vinyl or leather,
or even just
or dark fabric, even like dark cotton fabric. Like it's hard to see even when you're using a light box, like how to trace a design on top of it. So by using this like rinse away design sheet, and it's easy for you to like draw or print your pattern on top of it and then stick it on top, and then it washes away after, it's much easier to transfer your design in that way.
Yeah. So like one fun project that we've done is we actually just printed the outline of a bunch of letters. So this one is just like the letter O, and you can trace it and just fill it in with whatever stitch you want. And this is a really simple example, but it just helps you keep that shape super nice and clean. But if you have something a little bit more complex, let's say we have our little thread guy in a snow globe here. All you're seeing is actually how it's printed onto the rinse away design sheet. We've peeled it off like a sticker and stuck it onto the fabric here, and we've just begun stitching in dazzle with it. Or another really great way
I love this. Is one of my favorite ways to use this.
Is you can make handmade labels. So you can print on it, and then you can either do some like back stitching or stem stitching and just follow the lines. So you can have like a really clear, clean label, even if it's like a monogram as well, you can do that. And a fun project that we've also thought about is like kind of like faux cross stitching. So what we've done is like we printed like a big grid like this onto the paper. Oh, sorry. Like this grid. We haven't washed it away yet. And we just did like fake, kind of like this faux cross stitching on it. And then once you wash it away, you're left with something like this, which is really cute.
So it's an easy way to design your own pattern.
Yeah.
Too.
And we've talked about how you can put it through the printer, but you can absolutely just draw on it.
Freehand.
Yeah, you can freehand it, you can draw it, you can trace something like what Calista said. And even if you're someone that doesn't necessarily do hand embroidery too, you can create a shape or an outline and put it through your machine. So if you're doing like quilting and you want like a really specific design for your quilting, you can also print onto the rinse away design sheet. Just follow the lines and then wash it out after.
One thing I've tried on the machine as well is I've like printed out a design, and it's great to do free motion thread painting as well. So I've done some thread painted designs by just like printing out or tracing a stencil of something, and then it's like very easy to just kind of like follow and like color within the lines essentially.
Yeah. So yeah, the rinse away design sheet was the first creative medium in this whole lineup, and it's still probably like one of my most used ones. But like I'm super excited to try the rest because there's honestly so much you can do. And like we mentioned before, like it's such an umbrella. And even though these have names like lace made or, instant applique, I hope that you can think more about like what it is. And so when you're like doing something, you're like, oh, you know what would be really good right now? Instant applique, instead of just being like, oh, it has to be for applique, because sometimes these tools can be used for other things too.
Yeah, so this is like the new lineup of products that we were excited to share with you guys today. So that covers the whole range of them. And if you guys are interested in trying out the products and seeing how they're like, you can check out our shop local tab on our website and see which stores near you carry the product. As well, we do have the products available on shopwonderfil.com, so you can always check out those places and see where you can get your hands on some of these new creative mediums, and hopefully it enhances your next project and also gives you
a better sewing experience.
Yeah, a better sewing experience, a better finished result, and also like makes you see all the different like creative opportunities that are available when you try using like some of these different tools.
Yeah, hopefully these just make your job easier. That's what we want. And so thank you everyone so much for joining us today to talk about the WonderFil creative mediums.
Yeah. Follow us on social media if you're not already. We're on Facebook. We have YouTube videos every week. So if you're looking for more educational content and getting more ideas or education and hints and tips, please check out our YouTube channel, WonderFil Specialty Threads, and our Instagram as well.
Yes. And we also do have a free educational newsletter. If you're not subscribed yet, there is a code for when you do when you sign up as a new participant, you get like actually a free little spool of thread. So please sign up for that. There's like a lot of educational stuff in those newsletters.
And besides that, we actually have a free block of the month program if you are a newsletter subscriber. And we just finished our 2024 block of the month, which was
big success.
Yeah, it was really popular. We had like a cute bird quilt. So if you haven't checked it out, we have a Facebook group for that as well. But we will be announcing a new block of the month coming soon. So if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe and don't miss out on this year's upcoming block of the month.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, for joining us today. See you next time. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us anywhere.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.